Hey guys, last couple of weeks I've been hearing a lot of people saying that Tron Liberty doesn't have enough content and that there isn't much to do. That's why they're quitting the game. So I want to ask you, do you think that Tron Liberty doesn't have enough content? And do you enjoy playing Tron Liberty? And also, why do you play the game? Is it to have fun? I know it's subjective and having fun is different to most people, but still, generally speaking, if you're having fun doing something, you don't really care about it too much, you just do it and that's it. Or are you playing the game just to chase numbers on screen? You know, just to be constantly in a race or just constantly grinding and so on and so on. Take a moment and think about your answer and just, it's just for yourself anyway, just ask yourself that thing. Are you actually having fun playing the game? Personally, I think the game has enough content and it's releasing a good amount of content for the given time. So the global version was released around 4 or 5 months ago, not even half a year. And the Korean version was released a little over 1 year ago. So that's not a lot of time for MMO game, but I'll get to that in just a few minutes. Personally, I think that there is one major issue, and it's probably not exactly an issue, but just kind of a reason why we have these type of conversations. Why do people feel that way? Before I get into the topic, I believe that people around 30 years of age or a bit older, they will feel in a similar way like me, and they kind of like the flow of the content. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's a generational difference. And the people that are in their 20s, so a bit younger audience, I believe they don't like that dynamic. They want more content, like just huge quantities and quality at the same time. Now, this has been going on for a while, and they say that younger people have shorter attention span because they're watching shorts and TikToks and stuff like that. I'm not gonna get into this, but there are plenty of materials that can probably prove that, and I believe this is the case. This is basically making them feel the need for constant dopamine spikes. That on its own is actually a pretty scary thing, but I'm not gonna get into this right now. I'm gonna talk specifically about Tron Liberty and a couple of other games just as comparison. Is there no content, or is there not enough content in this game? I want to ask you for your opinion on that. Just leave a comment below if you feel like you can add something to this. And also, if you can name a game that releases large amounts of content or expansions every few months, if you can name a game that has that kind of volume, because I don't know any right now, to be honest. Maybe I'm missing, but that's just based on my experience. I haven't did any research on how games are releasing content. I've been playing video games for quite a few years, and based on my experience, most of the games would take an average of 2 or 3 years to release a big update or expansion. If they release something quarterly, like let's say every 3 months, it's gonna be a very small amount of content, maybe a single map with like something additional, but nothing big, obviously. And this is the case, for example, Guild Wars 2 was released 2012, and the first expansion was released 2015, so that's around 3 years. In between, they had small updates, and they released just a couple of maps, but that's about it. After that, the next update was Out of Fire, so that was released 2017, so that's about 2 years after the first expansion, and so on and so on. Of course, a lot of these games also have felt the pressure to just try to release more content more frequently. If they release more content for a short period of time, it's not gonna be as much, obviously. So right now, Guild Wars 2 is kind of changing their view on things. They release content more frequently, but in smaller quantity. So right now, the last expansion, as far as I remember, was released in portions, just like a lot of modern games, which, it's a point of view. You may like it this way, some people may like it the other way. It's not exactly that important, but technically, if they're releasing content every 3 months, it's really just gonna be like a single map. So obviously it's not possible for any studio ever to release a full expansion or even half an expansion for just a couple of months. That's just unrealistic. Also give you an example, World of Warcraft, which was released 2004. That's the first version of the game. And then the first expansion, which is Burning Crusades, was released 2007. So that's around 3 years later. On top of that, a lot of these games took years to be well polished, and most of the MMOs have very rough starts. We see it right now. This is the start, and it has a bad start, so to speak. But that doesn't mean it's bad in any way. It's just the way it is. They feel the pressure to release content more frequently, so they don't have enough time to fully polish things. And some of that pressure is coming from the communities anyway. But of course, in a couple of years, probably things will be different. Yes, of course, Throne Liberty, it's a relatively small game. The world is not that big. You can't really compare it to World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2. But realistically then, if you look at World of Warcraft in the beginning, they had 2 massive continents with, let's say, maybe 50 maps. But if you look closely, a lot of these maps serve the purpose of leveling in different locations. So they're basically like, let's say, different maps that serve the same purpose. So in reality, there wasn't really that much content for World of Warcraft when it was initially released. So what did change so much? I'm curious about that. Obviously, like a lot of things have changed in the last 20 years, but still, I just give you that as an example that, you know, for me, that was okay. I played a little bit back in the days, and I played other games that were like in similar fashion. But let's get back to Throne of Liberty. You can immediately see that they're fixing a lot of bugs relatively quickly. And sure, they make a lot of bugs as well, so that's kind of frustrating, but at the same time, if they're not fixing something right now, like immediately, maybe it's a bit more complicated, so it does take a bit more time. And you gotta take this into consideration. If, let's say, there's a bug going on for like a month and you still don't get a fix, maybe it's not that easy to be fixed in the first place. And then if we look at some other things, I believe that it's possible that they're having a weird or not the most efficient management system on how they treat bugs. For instance, if they have a list of bugs and they fix them in a fashion of first to come, first to serve, that means a very simple bug can appear, but it's going to be, let's say, a bit down the line. So they're trying to do the first one that came up, but it's way more difficult to fix. That's why it takes a bit more time. So that's kind of their problem, that maybe they have to figure out how to prioritize bugs and stuff like that. But it is what it is. It's not the end of the world. And I believe the problem is coming from the both sides, generally speaking. So it's not just the players or the developers. I think it's both sides. And one of the main problems for me, I believe this is really causing a lot of trouble, is having 2 different versions of the same game. So we're talking about the Korean version and the global version. And I think the Korean version kind of spoils the experience for the global one, kind of fuels the toxicity. A lot of players expect others to kind of know everything before it's released for the global one. So if you don't have access to the Korean game, they still expect you to know everything before it's even released, because it's there in the Korean version already. And I think this is really causing a lot of trouble, and hopefully in the near future they're gonna try to catch up to it, because it's not that much ahead. It's like just 1 year ahead basically. So if they deal with this, it's gonna be way better for the whole game. On the other side, part of the community is just lazy to create content for themselves. And what I mean by creating content for yourself, so in other MMOs, if people love the game, people have fun playing the game, they wouldn't just be chasing numbers or just grinding and stuff like that. They would actually have fun once they achieve something. So they're not going to be constantly looking for the treadmill. They're not going to be constantly trying to chase a carrot on a stick, so to speak. Let's say, for instance, you could test builds, you could try new things, you can play with non-meta builds, you can do PvP just for fun, or explore the actual game, just the actual story. And some games even have role-playing servers. Just imagine that. I mean, probably it's never gonna come to Throne of Liberty, but it's there. All these different things that I mentioned, and there are probably way more things that you can do, are things that actually the players create for themselves. You have the baseline over there, and you can create content for yourself just to have fun. The reward is you having fun and enjoying the game, and not being constantly in this grind. And of course, the developers can add a couple of things that can improve that, but we'll get to that later. The good games are the ones where people get involved with the story and have memorable characters. This goes to the devs a little bit, because they need to create memorable characters and actually a decent story, but also a little bit to the player base, because is the current player base going to appreciate it if there was a good story? The developers could invest in making a very nice story and actual memorable characters, know that, but are the players going to appreciate that? Are they actually going to get involved with it? That's the question. And on the other side, of course, it's not going to be like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2, because they're just way bigger and they have way more history behind them, but still, they can at least try, right? I know it's kind of a cliche at this point, but yes, I think games are to have fun and not to simply chase numbers and grind and so on. You're actually supposed to have fun. If you're not having fun, then why are you playing the game? And if having fun for you means to have endless progress, that means that at any given time, you're not enjoying your current position and only fixating yourself at the potentiality of the future. So you never feel fulfilled with your current situation, you never really like what you have, and you always focus on the future and never on the present. And I know this can sound a bit philosophical, but in the end, it's really just your perception of those ideas. No matter how much you want, no game will ever be capable of fulfilling your desires. If you want something that's just always the best quality and the best quantity, and it's just endless or it's just way too much, this is just not gonna happen. Things like that don't really exist. There's always going to be balance. If you rush things, they always come out bad. For example, you can actually see how this looks. You do have endless grinds in some games, like let's say Diablo 3. Paragon levels don't have cap, as far as I'm concerned. You can grind that and you're always going to be getting stronger and stronger. And I think rifts also don't have cap, so you can always just fight stronger enemies. But just look at how boring this is. Do you really want something like that? Just endless grind? It's really going to be something very simplified, because realistically no studio can just have endless amount of content. So if there's endless grind or just a lot of grind, then that content is going to be super repetitive, and they can easily do that. Just make a lot of things grindier. Like, this is actually going to happen for the next big update. It's going to be way more grindier than what we have now. And let's say if you had to grind 3 days for one item now to get, the materials and everything, maybe now you're going to have to grind for like 2 weeks for just one item. So is that really enjoyable? Is the whole point of the game for you to just stay longer and have more hours in the game? Is that the whole point? Is that what is fun all about? I don't think so. Of course, I believe the devs can make things a bit more engaging for the players, and they can add certain things that can just improve the whole experience. Like, for instance, they can add individual duels, like in many other games, where you can just request a duel from somebody and just do PvP anywhere you want, or at least just add more duel areas in the open world, which we already have in Throne of Liberty, so I don't think that's going to be too difficult to be made. That's just for you to actually have fun. It's not going to be for rewards or anything, it's just for fun. Of course, they can even add some sort of additional UI where people can organize tournaments for them. That's completely custom, completely community-based thing. Let's say you have some friends in the game and you just get together and organize a small tournament just for you. So that is content that you can create. And of course, the developers have to create the environment for that, but then it's all up to you. You can make that tournament, you can actually set up rewards and just, just have fun, right? Test out your abilities to one another, kind of like bet a little bit on one another, Like, let's say you have entry fee for the tournament and then the top 3 players in that tournament win the prize pool, something like that. I mean, it sounds super simple, and I don't think it's really difficult for the developers to create some sort of UI that can provide you with those functions. And that's going to create so much fun, but it really depends on the player base. Are the people actually going to have fun with something like that? So this is really the big question. And they can also add like more interesting collection achievements similar to the pages that we already have. And I think things like that can keep people buzzing around for a bit longer, if that's the whole point. And the next thing is a bit crazier to even consider in 2025, but back in the days, we did not have dungeon finders. I know it sounds crazy, but at the same time, people say how the game is not very social and so on. If you actually go physically to a dungeon and you have to actively look for people to go together, that's gonna make the game way more engaging, and people are going to actually feel a bit like playing an MMO. Right now, the Dungeon Finder is double-edged sword in a way, because yeah, it makes the whole experience a bit easier, a bit more casual, but at the same time, that's the same reason that makes it less social and kind of more dead in a way, like soulless. Because you never really speak to those people, you just click a couple of buttons, get matched together with other people that fulfill the roles, and that's it. And you just go in the dungeon, and you don't even need to chat. If everybody knows what they're doing, you're literally not gonna type a single word to each other. Just gonna go through it just like a single player experience. You don't even feel that those are people, which is very sad to me. But yeah, if they remove the dungeon finder and add the actual dungeon locations on the map, that'll make people go to these dungeons and actually actively look for other people, which is super nice, by the way. And there could be many other simple things that they can change to achieve similar effect. But again, it goes down to the perception of the players and how they would react to some changes like that. In the end, just ask yourself, do you actually enjoy the game? And are you having fun playing it? Or do you just log in every day because you have that fear of missing out and because you want to constantly race with others? I think if you're from the second type, then probably you don't like playing games at all. Maybe you're just looking for quick dopamine and that's it. So it doesn't matter if it's a game or something else. You just want a lot of things happening at the same time or really quickly. I'm not expert on those things. I don't know, but I'm just feeling like it's something like that, and it feels like no game will ever be enough for you. I'm gonna give you an example. A lot of players came from Black Desert Online to play Throne Liberty, and now when Throne Liberty is kind of in a slowing down state, the same players are back to Black Desert Online, and guess what? They tried a new game because Black Desert was not enough for them. They were seeking for something better. And since Throne Liberty is not better, they go back to Black Desert Online, and after a while, if a new similar game comes out, they'll do it again. They'll just switch from Black Desert Online to this new game, whatever it might be. So if you like your current situation, you'll not be seeking to change anything about it, right? So basically they never liked any of these games. They're always looking for something. It just happens that what they're currently playing the most is the best they can get, but it's not enough. It's never enough. They're never feeling fulfilled. Just think about what you're really looking for. Do you actually like playing video games? I know that most people in their 30s can relate to what I'm saying, but I hope that also some younger people out there will try to understand what I mean and maybe use this as a wake-up call or something. As for Throne Liberty, I believe they're releasing a lot of content and they have plans for a lot more in the next 1 or 2 years. It's gonna get better and it will retain a dedicated player base. Maybe not huge, but technically it's a niche game, and other niche games before have had small but dedicated player base and are doing just fine. And I think that if they catch up to the same version as the Korean one, things are gonna get generally better for the whole game. So this was my concern about the game. I really want to say those things because I've been seeing people talking about those things for the last couple of weeks. So my message to you is just, have fun. Just play the game you like. Don't rush it. Don't go crazy about it. Just live your life. Don't worry about those things. Even today, there's this maintenance and I see a lot of comments were like going crazy about it, like how many hours it takes for the maintenance and then how many hours we're gonna have to wait. Guys, it sounds like you're fucking addicted. 1 or 2 days not playing the game, it's not gonna be the end of the world. Come on. You can always play other games if you really like staying on your computer, or you could just, actually do real life stuff. But I'm not judging, I'm just saying it's not a big deal. Just it sounds a bit crazy for when I hear people making big deal of things like that. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I hope you can get something useful from what I'm saying today and don't get burnt out from the game. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below if you got something to add to the topic. Thank you for watching, guys, and see you next time.